Hello, everyone, and welcome. Can everyone hear me okay?
I'm here.
All right, great. This is the Equality, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee, along with Student Council. We're presenting a Black History Month celebration. It's the first of a series of events that the EDI and Student Council would like to start doing this year. And New York campus is the first campus to host. So each campus will have an event. And so we're really lucky to be able to host this event. It is a tri-campus event, and thanks to the Student Council and EDI, we're able to put this on for you. And then as a special treat, literally, we have Voyager Espresso here. Voyager Espresso is a Black-owned business. They're located downstairs in the subway corridor. So if you just go through the stairwell to get to the subway to the 2-3, make a left, not a right, and grab your coffee or tea or whatever you want every day before you get on that train. I used to go every morning before clinic to grab my stuff. I know Rob goes down there. So please feel free to support our Black-owned businesses. We have a special speaker for you today. I'm gonna let Dana do that introduction.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
I'm gonna turn this off. You guys can hear me okay without the microphone, right?
Thank you.
All right, great. So first thing I want to do, I should introduce myself. Hi, I'm Dana. Welcome to our Black History Month event. And so I want to especially welcome you by welcoming you in an African language. So Akwaba, that is welcome. And that's what they speak in Ghana. That's the language that's spoken in Ghana. So Akwaba. In South Africa, we'd say Sawubona. Sawubona. In Swahili, we'd say Habari. Habari. So Akwaba, Sawubona, Habari. And there's so many languages in Africa, but I can manage right now. So my name is Dana, but my African name is Ajwa Sechewa. So, but you guys can still call me Dana. That's fine. But Ajwa means she who was born on Monday. And Sechewa means blessed, born to lead, and one who leads with love. So that is me, but this is not that is me, but I'm here to introduce you guys to Dumisani. Dumisani is a Pacific College grad. He graduated in 2005.
Wow.
Back when it was Pacific College of Oriental Medicine, and we had our campus on 21st Street and Broadway. And we are so glad to have him come back and do the kickoff event for Student Council and EDI collaboration. So without further ado, and I will put his information on the whiteboard for you guys. But without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Dumisani.
Well, hello. I'm glad you could find some time in your schedule to come out and support this event. Student Council, thank you for pushing for this, and all of the students that are here. Thank you. Is there any faculty here? Oh, besides you. Okay, all right. So your administrator. Okay, all right. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So basically, when I was asked to do this, my reaction was, you know, Black History Month they gave us the shortest month of the year. Right? We get 28 days, right? Everybody else get 30, 31, you know, we get 28. You know, anyway, that's an aside. But I was really happy to come out and speak to the students. Basically, I got involved with acupuncture. At the time, there was a lot of movements going on in America. You know, civil rights movement, it was right movement. Many of you probably heard of like the Black Panthers and all kind of movements in America at that time. And so I got involved with acupuncture through one of the people who were involved in the Black Panther Party. And as a result, Black Panther Party had a health component. It also had a nutritional component that they were feeding the community and educating the community and, you know, dealing with the health aspect of the community. So I was very much, you know, interested in the health aspect of it. So I got in touch with one of my colleagues. She was part of a collective of people that we were involved with at the time. And so her ex-husband was an acupuncturist. So he was based in New York. So I came to meet him, and he had a practice in Harlem, and he was like the first Black acupuncturist that I knew of. And they worked out of a barbershop, a former barbershop, you know, barber chairs where they can go back. So I thought it was real cool, right? Wow, great. And his partner was Matul Shakur. And so I had a chance to meet him at that time when I came to New York, and then I got the other practitioner to come to the city I was located and, you know, give me some basic ideas. Sorry.
Yeah, let's record it. Make sure you get your content. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Can we use the mic?
You wanna use the mic?
It might be better.
Okay,
Why don't we
use the
do it
mic?
back
Okay,
there,
I'm
yeah.
not sure about people online.
Yeah, you can hear.
Oh, yeah, okay. Sorry, you mind if I sit? Okay. So, long story short, that's how I got involved with acupuncture in America. At the time, I was an activist, so I left America and I went with my family is in Southern Africa, were in the ANC. I don't know if you guys know what that is. That's an organization called the African National Congress. It was headed up by Nelson Mandela. And so I went to South Africa to help. And there I met my teacher, who was from Taiwan. He did classical acupuncture, not the stuff that was being taught in mainland China, which was this other TCM thing, right? And in Taiwan, they had classical acupuncture. In mainland China, they was teaching TCM, which was completely, in a way, the emphasis was different. And so my teacher was old school, real old school. So I had to go through like the Boy Friday kind of thing with him, right? Watch the table, clean the needles, you know, get the patients ready, you know, set them up, you know, the whole nine, you know, before he even let me get to a needle, right? So he had this little ball of cotton that he would make, you know, you will wind it till it got tighter and tighter and bigger, and you can get the needle because they didn't have tubes and there was no guide tubes, right? So you had to be able to, with one stroke, get the needle into the cotton. And the larger it got, the ball, the more difficult it got to put the needle in. So you had to refine your technique. So that was a whole nother type of, you know, education learning. So I would like to say my first teacher in Chinese medicine was Dr. Chan from Taiwan. And I must say, I am extremely, extremely happy that the Chinese held on to this knowledge and didn't lose it. I am so, so happy because this is such a profound healing system that is spreading around the world. And it's in almost every country. Everywhere I've been, people would, you know, they find out, oh, give me some treatment, you know, give me some needles, you know, stuff like this. So it's very popular around the world. And in fact, the WHO has listed, you know, Chinese medicine as part of a traditional medicine practice. And so it is recognized. And in Southern Africa, what was going on there, many of the traditional healers, the WHO were recognizing them. And so they were on the same status as regular MDs. So I'm not sure what we're doing. Okay, so
So intense.
so anyway, long story short, I learned Chinese medicine overseas. And when I came back to the United States, there was no licensing requirements. There were no students. There were a few places around that were, you know, doing things. I think the school that closed down, what was it? Tri-State. They were at the beginning, not even there yet. And everybody else, there was no licensing or anything like that. And then New York State had this big, long process with educators to bring it in. And so that lasted about 4 or 5 years. I remember going to the first meeting in Chinatown And there are like two groups of people there at that meeting. One who was in support of the Chinese, and then the others who were like on the side of educators and scholars and all of this kind of stuff. And it was this big meeting, and I'm like, I just want to do work. I just want to heal people. So I'm not interested in the politics or anything like that. So I never went back. It took them about 5 or 6 years to get the whole thing in operation and so forth and so on. So in the meantime, there was no law, so I was working. I was working with most of my, in my community. At the time, I lived in Brooklyn. And I set up a practice with an MD. And between him and we shared patients, and it was a great relationship. So that went on about maybe 8, 9 years in Brooklyn, Bedford side. So that was do or die. Okay. So yeah, so that was like the first practice in America that I was involved in. And at that time, there was a lot of crack and a lot of, it was like zombie world then. You guys don't know about that, but it was like the zombie world. It was like, you go out, we had plexiglass, we had buzzers to get people into the door, and then we had to buzz them into the second door. We had plexiglass when they came in. That's how dangerous in the communities that I was working in. So I was like, that was pretty tough. But you could see people wanted this. They wanted the herbs, they wanted the acupuncture, they wanted, what Chinese medicine could do, because they had heard about it, they've seen, and I don't know if you guys are aware, but like Kung Fu movies were like the entree of most Black people to learn about Chinese medicine, Hispanic and Black people. So, what I'm talking about, right? You said Saturday morning, in the 80s, Saturday morning, I know you're quite young, right?
Yeah.
Saturday morning was Kung Fu Saturday, So we would watch the movies, and then, some of the stuff was outlandish, the guy would throw a needle across the room, hit the guy in the chest, he died, stuff like that. Crazy stuff, but, it's just, that was for movies. But there were moments in that you would see some great stuff. And I think the best movie I've ever seen was the Iron Monkey 1. If you get a chance to see that, go Google that and look it up and look at it. It's great. It's a superhero kind of guy. He's a traditional doctor. He does herbs and acupuncture. He also fights against the corrupt government. You know about Iron Monkey. You've seen that movie before, anybody? Check it out. It's great. It's a great movie. Anyway, so that just a little bit about me, where I came from, what I was doing over the years. I'm still in practice. I practice about 6 days a week. I'm still busy. I have 2 locations. And I enjoy the work. I really enjoy it. My patients become my friends. And I gotta say, PCOM, just giving them a little, like, hey, they were very good in terms of the Western medicine for me, because I already did Chinese medicine. So the program had a large component of Western medicine. And that, I had did a lot of self-study when I was overseas. So when I came to PCOM, the Western medicine aspect was really great, to be able to cross the border, so to speak, and harmonize it. And that was like the beautiful part about it. Other schools didn't do as much. And I gotta say that to you guys, they didn't do much on Western medicine, but in PCOM, my professors were from downstate. They were coming in from downstate, teaching classes. They would leave their med students and come here and teach the same thing they were teaching them medical students downstate here. So it was like you were getting the same things that the doctors were getting, the future doctors. So it was very rigorous, extremely rigorous, the Western medical stuff. The Chinese stuff for me at the time, well, I had been there and done that, so it was like a walk in the park. So, but that was interesting. So while I was here, we started a Black Hispanic organization to pass around information and, support each other, while we were going through this. And what I saw was like the Korean students had their like little group, the Russians had their group, the Chinese had their group, they were kind of back and forth, but the Black and Hispanic, they had no group, right? And they have very, we have very special needs, right? And things like that. So a lot of the students, they were coming like, instead of taking a full load, it took them like 10 years to get through the acupuncture program. And, you gotta, your mother, you got 2 kids, you got a job, you gotta do acupuncture, you gotta remember the points, you gotta remember the channel, you gotta remember all that stuff. It's a lot. So we worked together, we mentored each other, it was great. So I don't know what they're doing now, not in touch, but that was something that was being done at the time. That's enough about me, unless you have questions. Any questions? Okay,
Well, yeah, I mean, like, what do you think? Back then, that was back in 2000, early 2000s, right, when you were here?
2005.
Yeah, you
I
graduated,
graduated.
right, so you were here in 2000s, like,
Two,
back,
3. I started in 2003.
Okay.
I accelerated. I went
yeah,
to-
you did.
Yeah.
What would you say was like an important need of having that, like, Black Latino association? Like, what was it really like feeding?
Okay, so you gotta understand that Black and Hispanic people, they live under, it's under, how can I say this? These microaggressions that you don't really notice, because if you're part of a larger group, you get support, right? And so you don't really, what the hell are they making all this noise about? But what happens is that you live under this microaggression. And a lot of the students, they go to class and the teacher will look at them and like, this stuff will come out, it was like subtle sometimes they became very overt. And, they didn't know what to do. And I'm like, okay, listen, you need to, talk and let's talk about it. Let's see. You came here for a reason. You came here for the medicine. You didn't come here to get involved in, all of that. So that's all of that stuff is like the stuff that you have to deal with. And that's like, I just have enough, bandwidth for that, nothing else. And so you got to spend time doing that, which is it's a waste of time for everybody. I mean, not just you, but for everybody. So we got together and we started talking about different ways we can, work on that. We offered each other treatments, we meet somewhere to treat each other, do some yoga, Pilates, stuff like that. I can do Pilates, I let some Pilates things and yoga, all that kind of stuff, Qigong, it's on the down low, helping each other. So this is, some of the things that happened then that we were doing to help each other. It's still, I don't know what's going on now because I don't know what's going on in terms of the school because I'm not involved in anything here, so I don't know. But if it's like the larger society, it seems like things have gotten a little worse. Okay, so I don't know what's going on here, but out there it's gotten like worse. So you came here as a student to learn a science. This science is probably the greatest science that, besides Ayurvedic medicine, ancient science. It is probably one of the most powerful forms of medicine that you can employ. I live by this medicine. I'm 75 years old. So, yeah. So,
Yeah, right.
you know what I mean? So the thing is that, it's true. What they say about health is true. If you do what the medicine says, it's true. You will have a healthy life. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. That's not important. What is important is for me to be healthy while I'm here. So all that other stuff, I don't know, they talk about, I remember reading a passage somewhere, this guy went up into the mountains. He was reported to be 256 years old, he was eating some special herbs. And, you can hear these stories, right? So things like that. But, I don't know. But if you can just keep your chi rooted in the right place, you can live as long as you probably want. But that means that you have to really be disciplined. This is not for the faint of heart. But you want to go and do the needles, get the herbs and then go out and party and get high or whatever you're doing, eating bad food, doing all those things. You can help the patients, For you, I don't know. A lot of my peers, they retired. I see them. They're like, old, like really like old, and I'm like, you got the best thing right here. Use it, right? Use it. They're not using it. They're good. They're brilliant people, but you know, this is just not a medicine that you treat someone else. You have to use this. You have to be like the poster person for what you do. So when people come into your practice, they won't look at you and they're gonna say, how's your chi? Right? And you start talking about chi and they're like, ooh, this is great. You know how it's shorthand, everybody say, it's just energy, right? Was, as students, it's way more than just energy, right? I mean, you notice that a symbol, the chi symbol, you know what that looks like? You don't know? It's like a pot. And it goes like that, right? And inside you have a cross, and each section of the cross, you have a little pieces of grain, which is rice. And then above the pot, you have this steam that flows off of the pot. And in that symbol, that chi symbol, is the 5 elements. Because that steam is boiling off the pot. So you got a fire, you got a water, you got a wood, right? Of course, the earth is where the plant comes from, and the metal is the pot. So just that little symbol is so loaded with imagery that every time you say chi, then you're going to talk to somebody about chi, like you got all this stuff going on in your head. Like this is a very profound concept, this chi. And it's not physical, but it is physical. And she's spirit. She could be, physical, very condensed. It could be extremely, ethereal, like they teach about the hun, right? When they talk about the 5 spirit, the hun, right? And the po is the most fragile, right? That's the heaviest of all. So what's happening there is you got this, right in front of you, you got this whole system with just the word chi and the character chi. So that's when you dig deep into the science, you just sit there and meditate. I mean, I used to sit and just meditate on the taste of an herb, just to figure out what channel. I know you guys don't know probably about Chinese medicine, but they do. They have, we talk about the energy of the herb, right? And they talk about what channels it enter, right? So if it's bland or if it's sweet or if it's bitter, you know that those tastes have certain channels that they go into. And you know that, if you taste the herb by itself, you can get an idea. That's kind of pucky, right? Astringent, right? So you can get an idea. Oh, that herb is shan you. Okay, it's strange, right? So you can taste it, right, in your mouth, right? So you should take herbs on your off time. Go, get some herbs. I know you got an herb pack from if you those are doing herbs, right? Just take one out. Just sit and meditate. That'll give you a greater insight into to Chinese herb. Yes.
I have a question.
Okay, talk loud or maybe.
No, that's okay. I can speak well.
Okay.
You don't have to.
Check out project.
So,
Okay.
so thank you for coming and thank you for talking about Pacific and what it did for you, particularly around the Western. But I'd like to know, did you keep in touch with any of those other students of color? And I'd also like to invite you to become part of our alumni association.
Okay.
And get hooked back in.
Okay. Yes, I'm currently doing a series called The Faces of Acupuncture. And what my videographer or cinematographer she's supposed to be, I don't know if she's that. Maybe probably got called in training. But what I'm doing is I'm talking to all of the practitioners who go to school here and other schools in the area and have them talk about the profession, how they got involved with it, Because at the core of what's going on is two things in the community of color. Besides being a food desert, right? It's a health desert, right? And an economic desert. There's a little quote that in one of Giovanni's books on diagnosis. This is the latest book, right? He talks about you can drive through a neighborhood. Chinese medicine is like you could drive through a neighborhood. This in terms of diagnosis, and look at the housing and the people without meeting the inhabitants to know what's going on in that community. That's how Chinese diagnosis is, because you do a lot of observation, right? So which is a big part of Chinese medicine. So to get back to your question, right? Yes, we need to talk to each other. In fact, at this moment, some of them are talking about forming clinics and bringing the students who are coming out of these institutions a place to work. Because it's pretty daunting to set up a practice if you don't have. I mean, I've just naturally fell into it. I've been in practice here for a long time. I'm on my second 10-year lease on that. Okay, I'm in a high rent place, like really high rent, right? And the students, my colleagues are all from Pecan. So we got together, we set up a spot, right? And we shared the rent. I couldn't handle, it's over, not even counting the supplies and everything else, it's about over 10 grand a month. Okay. So we all pitch in and we make it happen. Yeah. And we've been together like a family for over, going on, what, about 17 years now. Okay. We went through the pandemic, the 3 years. We walked out March 17, 2020, and came back the end of, I think, 21. And that's accruing all this rent and everything else. A lot of people went out of business, but we stayed, right? And we worked it out. And we have a good crew. So some of the people that you go to school with could actually be part of your, any business or any ventures that you're going to, get involved in. They're there. So back to the question about the food desert, the health desert, all that kind of stuff, right? So Chinese medicine, the future is bright. I have some statistics somewhere here, so I can find it real quick, right? For you guys to, sorry, half my brain's over here. There were the forecasts on revenue in 2024 is $500 million USD. Now that means, okay, for acupuncture, we're not talking about herb, more than 10 million acupuncture treatments are administered annually in the United States alone. That represents, if you anywhere from 100 to 150 a treatment, that's about $100 billion that's being generated. So as a business, it looks very promising. People they want other alternatives. IVF is a big thing. Okay, I have so many babies out there. Not really. I mean, I help my patients.
Right.
You got the point, right? So yes.
Thank you so much for being here. That's great.
Okay.
So there's more distress in conventional medicine than ever, especially in the immigrant community and the community of color.
Yes.
And it seems like there's a gap of care that needs to happen. And acupuncturists seem to be fulfilling that more so. What do you see how we fit in terms of that?
Okay, what is your name?
Oh, I'm Langton Ritchie. I'm the VP of Clinical Education and Operations here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure. I hope you're not, working for the regular MDs and conventional medicine. No, I'm only kidding. You're in a business, Anyway, yes. The thing is that, okay, let's look at Chinatown. Okay, use that as a model. Almost every other store in Chinatown is not a bodega. It's not a liquor store. Okay? And it's not a big box store. The entrepreneurial activity in Chinatown is off the chain. You can't even walk down the streets because people are selling you and buying it. There's so much activity, right? So if you walk down a block, you're going to see at least 3 to 5 Chinese medicine herbal stores. Not talking about the regular stores that have a mix. You go into a regular supermarket, you can go in there and get, some, products that are Chinese medicine, because they don't see Chinese medicine as being separate from food. It's part of their cuisine. So I'm saying as a model, okay? So you guys listen. So they've been able to turn that, I don't know if you guys ever heard of Malcolm X, right? Malcolm X used to say to the African Americans that a dollar should turn at least 12 to 20 times in your community before you let it go. Okay, that's what's happening in Chinatown. That money is turning around inside that community, and it empowers that community. And they are generating tons of wealth just among themselves. Okay? They have a culture, they have a tradition. The African Americans, Hispanics, we have our own traditions. But like anything, traditions are made by people. We can upgrade those traditions. We can incorporate what we already have. We do have things already. Most of my clientele when I first started out were Caribbean-based old ladies and the old ladies from the, from the South who came in the Great Migration. They were like the grannies and stuff. And they would come and say, I don't want that, excuse the expression, I don't want that white man's medicine. And I'm like, why? It just make me feel bad. I don't want that stuff. And I said, well, you got to take it. Your doctor said you got to take it. Well, you got a replacement. I said, well, I don't know about that, but let me diagnose you and maybe we can work something out. But if you want to come off your medicine, go see your doctor. That I don't know anything about. So yes, so there was a big push at that time. A lot of the young people who went into hip hop, many of them are dying, got lots of problems. Some of their mothers used to send them to me when they were younger, so they're having issues, ED issues, and diabetes and hypertension, all kinds of stuff. You didn't know about it, but the parents were sending them over to me. And, I'd give them herbs and acupuncture and stuff like that. And they wouldn't say anything. But this is a tradition. Chinese medicine is portable. How do you think, anybody ever heard of Kempo medicine? Huh? Kempo is Japanese herbal medicine. Huh? Anybody heard of Reiki? Yes. Reiki is Japanese Qigong. Right? They just took, instead of saying Qigong, they said Reiki. Their idea of Qi is instead of QI, is KI. Rei, R-I-E, is the sun. Okay? Qigong is, the whole base of Qigong is to, touch the sun, moon, earth, right? And put those energies in you, right? So, in other words, Zen Buddhism came from India. It went to Tibet. We got Tibetan Buddhism. We got Japanese Zen Buddhism. We got Chinese Chan Buddhism. We got Burman Buddhism. We got Vietnamese Buddhism, Philippine Buddhism. All over the world, you got the East came from India and spread throughout, and they put their stamp on it. And so you go to these temples, yeah, they're talking about Buddha, but They're Japanese looking or Korean looking or Tibetan looking. So in other words, the idea is that you can take these principles and incorporate them into your community. It's easy to do. You're sitting here, you're getting everything here from, you got all this information. When you come out here, out of this school, you know, they say you get a master's degree. That's bunk. You have the same thing an MD has. When you leave this program, you are on the same level as an MD. It's just the society don't recognize it that way. And of course, you know, the scholars, they try to impede the growth of this stuff. So they say, oh, you need to take some more credits to get the doctorate. You know? What you gonna learn any more about Chinese medicine? No, you don't learn any more about Chinese medicine. When you graduate with your master's degree, you are done. Medical degrees, you get your MD, that's a master's of a doctorate. They call it master's medical degree, doctorate, they call it doctorate, they just got a master's degree. That's all that is. You know, so, I mean, if you want to go for the, you know, the little, I'm a doctor, see, but that's fine. I got a lot of doctors in my office, you know, that's fine. It's not going to teach you anymore, unless you're going to go into the Western medicine and you really want to integrate to Western medicine, then go that direction. But you don't need that. You're a doctor already. Once you finish this program, you are done. There's no more medicine for you to learn in an institution. Everything else is on you. Did I answer your question? Did I answer your question? Kind of, sort of? Kind of, sort of?
No, you're good, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
I just want to
thank
make sure. Any other questions? You had did you have a question? You have a question? No question. Okay, I mean, you guys are the internet generation. I mean, you be watching, you going to, I mean, you're looking at your social media, you're looking at everything, and you know questions? Okay, no questions about practice. When I graduated, the first person that I saw after I graduated, I gave a treatment. I was in a doctor's office working with a doctor, and she fainted. The first patient, she just fainted. And then we tried to wake her up, and then she went like, in a trance. We had to call the ambulance to come get her. I was like, oh, whoa. You know, that's a story. That is a story. I mean, I was like, oh man, this is what it's gonna be like. But that was way, you know, that was the exception.
What's the most challenging case you've treated?
Okay, so because I wanted to be community-based, I had to learn. There was a Dr. Shin that he was old. He treated cancer in China, right? That was his specialty. He was an MD, but he also used acupuncture. So he was teaching here at Pecan, in the clinic. None of the students liked him because his treatments were, you give like 5 or 6 points, you don't move the chi, right, very much, because if they have cancer, it spreads. So it would be like 15 minutes of treatment. You just sit there, 4 points, and the patient will come back week after week after week after week. And that insight stayed with me. So I treat a lot of cancer. People have, at whatever stage they are, they can be getting radiation, chemotherapy, whatever they do. I treat cancer. But cancer takes time. And the patient has to be committed. So it's not something you're going to take, you know, you're going to get done like that. Now, saying that, the communities that I work in, it is understood that people are going to come in with 2 or 3 major diseases. This is in China, in the Chinese community, the Hispanic community, the Black community, you're going to take it for granted. The person going to walk in, they're going to have hypertension, diabetes, and obesity. Mostly. And then they're going to come and present whatever other things is going on. So you have to make some serious, hard decisions about what you're gonna do. Dr. Ma, who was teaching here, he said, you know how you get a patient is you find out what you can treat that will make them feel better, and then they will come back, and you won't lose that patient. So the strategy was to treat that something that you can actually have an impact on. And the thing that was difficult, of course, one treatment's not going to do anything, but you want them to keep coming back. So you can get to that. A lot of times in Chinese medicine, diet is not the cause of diabetes. Right? You got right?
Yes.
Okay, it's not sugar. It only becomes a problem once you get diabetes, then sugar becomes a problem. Before that, it's stress. Okay, you know, in Western medicine, I can say cortisol interferes with insulin. So the problem is stress. So your first approach is to de-stress the person. You know what stress. You got the 4 gates, right? You got the Xiao Yao Yang, right? Xiao Yao San, right? You know that formula, right? That's the free and easy formula. For those who don't know, right? What year are you in?
I'm an MSCOM. I'm like almost an intern. So I'm
Oh,
almost an intern.
Okay, so you heard of these formulas.
Yes.
Okay, all right. You kind of had a quizzical look on your.
No, I was reading some of the names behind you as well. Sorry, I was trying.
Oh, okay, I'm done. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm not connecting here. Maybe you didn't hear about this. Anyway, so yes, so these formulations, that's a very basic stuff, right? But that is powerful stuff because when you know, let me just digress for a moment. I was listening to a podcast on NPR, you know, I'm a podcast switch, right? And Code Switch. And they were talking about why African Americans smoke so many methylated cigarettes. Right? Even after they knew and the government knew that cigarettes cause cancer. In the African American community, I don't know about the Chinese community, but they were still smoking methylated cigarettes. You know? Tobacco in the Chinese community is a whole nother story. In the Asian community, I don't know if you guys know. That's a whole nother story. That's gonna have to, somebody has to do something about that because they just smoking like crazy. Okay. But in the community of color, the ads for Newport, Cools, all kind of, you know, the mentholated cigarettes is, menthol really makes you relax, right? Menthol, right? Makes you relax. So the idea of mentholated cigarette, if you suffer from microaggressions all day, and you want to chill out when somebody's giving you stuff, you take a deep breath. Because usually after you take your first hit on your cigarette, you might take another one, then you put it out. You're really not smoking anymore, right? But it's just a chance just to get that deep breath and get that menthol in your body, and you just, I'm relaxed, right? So nobody ever talks about that. They just talk about all of the advertising and the marketing that, you know, stimulate people to buy these things. But why are people smoking it? Right? Why are they smoking it? Besides the addictive aspects of tobacco, they're not smoking Marlboros or all the other brands, right? So yeah, so I was listening to the podcast. I was thinking, gee, I wish I could chime in and give a little insight, right? Of course, you can see it once you get this medicine and you understand your understanding about culture, your understanding about life will change. And once you get it and you start living it, I mean, it changes. Everybody's that's sitting here, you will be changed once you begin to treat others, and you will start to change yourself. Because it's like the minister, right? He's standing up, says, house it up, covet that house or that car, whatever. In his mind, he's got to think about, like, wow, I'm being materialistic and I'm not being spiritual, right? And so you're sending a message, eventually it's going to get to you, right? So in this practice, you're going to learn a lot about yourself, because I know the first time you got into class and you were like, what am I? What am I metal? Am I wood? Am I water? You know, what? This liver cheese stagnation? I was shouting at my friend the other day. Oh no, kidney deficiency. Oh, I got heart fire. I can't sleep. What's going on? Right. So all that stuff, right? So you're gonna learn about yourself because you're looking at this stuff like I gotta get this stuff. I gotta get this stuff, right? Because I want to know what's going on with me, right? And essentially, to be a good healer, you gotta heal yourself. You're your first patient. So once you get that down, then you can fly. Okay, but it's a process. You're not gonna heal yourself right away. Because you didn't get in balance right away, right? It took a long time, right? And then sometimes you have to heal your community to get healed. Because they giving you're going to start saying, I know many of you might say, I've been a vegan for like most of my life, right? And I go places and people want me to eat, a lot of damp producing foods and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, I don't eat that stuff, I don't eat this stuff. And they're like, everywhere I go, they're trying all this stuff. And why you don't eat that? And I'm like, well, it produces phlegm, this damp, can cause heart disease, can cause obesity. And I start talking, I'm like, oh, I didn't know any of that, But everywhere you go, you gotta be on guard. Like, hey, look, I'm gonna help you. I'm not eating that, right? And so just something is, just simple like that, where you have to talk to your peers, even your family members, if you're married, your husband, or your wives. You gotta get in there, your mates, right? You gotta get in there and have this discussion with folks. Like, I'm trying to keep my health together. So of course, you learn about this. But I was just reading about AI and acupuncture. They're coming for us, right? You know that, right? They're coming. So it was this one, I went and did a little, just cruising through the internet, and it was this organization, and they're talking about, how when I treat a patient, my pool of knowledge is vast, but when I go and open a textbook and I see there are like 15 to 16 categories of points, like meeting points, the 5 key points, the five element points, all these different types of points, So you don't think that when you're trying to compare a formula, right? Because you're looking at this person based on what you know, and you're crafting a prescription of points, and some of the deeper knowledge, you may not even include that in your thinking. Okay, so those points, all kind of points, right? Tons of different types of categories. So with AI, what they are proposing is that when they can be more precise and more inclusive in terms of the prescription of points, and they're talking about robots being more precise with points. Now, I don't see that happening, but there's discussion. Okay, so they're going to come after this, so they want to try to figure this out so they can, the AI could help. I could see it be a help in the clinic, because you can, easily ask, like, okay, I got these symptoms, and I got these, these diagnoses. What else? Right? Yeah, that's fine. Instead of, you have to research on the stuff your own, you can just ask AI to help you out. But them talking about robots, because they do this with, surgery, right? They have the remote surgery, right? They get a technician, not a doctor, a little technician somewhere, put the patient in position, right? Put the robotic arm out there, cuts them open. They there to keep the blood, maybe something too much or whatever, right? But they're not doctors. And I think that's what their thinking is about acupuncture. But acupuncture is a lot more than that. Because in Japan, they have these blind practitioners who do acupuncture. You've heard about them?
Yeah.
Okay. So just imagine yourself blind and feeling the pulse, right? Maybe feeling the skin texture. You can't see, but you can feel with your hands, right? And you can smell, right? And you can hear, right? And when you palpate certain points, you pick up energy out of certain points. So these acupuncturists, they're very good. So without vision, you can actually, treat people and be very effective. Been done in Japan. Yeah. Any other questions? Any other questions? You got a question over there? You coming to Chinese medicine school? Then you should think about it. So they. Anyway.
Well, I just had a quick question, like, as far as like research and stuff goes, like, do you get into that, or where do you think research is helpful, and where does it need more, like, voices of color and things like that?
There's a ton of research. PubMed,
Yeah.
I mean, just go and take, I mean, there's so much research out there. I mean, the discussion on research is just, but there are other countries that, like, don't limit your research to America. Because their research, France is the first Western country that got involved in acupuncture. Believe it or not, back in the 1600s. Because they sent Jesuit priests, those are Catholic priests, they go and learn the culture, the language, they like set the scenario up so they can bring the missionary, right? So they send these guys out all over the world, the Jesuit priests, and they come back, a repository of all of this profound information. And they came back with Chinese medicine. And so France has some of the oldest textbooks and teachings on Chinese medicine. That's what Tri-State was based on, the French, if you didn't know that. They didn't do TCM. There was a French school of acupuncture. Their text was very different. Okay. So it's an integration of Chinese and Western medicine, which is very different than what you're talking about. So research, always keep your eyes open, because there's a lot of new things that are happening. There's a lot of ideas. Like, for example, when I started back in the 70s, right? I got involved in this, right? The late 70s. And what was going on in the late 70s was this idea of cardiovascular disease in the West. It was big, heart, big heart thing, right? Everybody, heart attacks, coronary bypass surgery, all this stuff. How is this happening? And Chinese medicine didn't have an answer, right in their history, because they didn't eat a lot of fat and meat, right? Their diet was basically plant-based. So they don't have a history of how you treat this disease. So what they begin to do is research and adapt the medicine to this new disease. And they start to look at it and say, oh, this is like phlegm. So they started thinking about phlegm as like plaque. And that's when they began to change the way they was treating people, especially in the West, to prevent, cardiovascular disease. So that was something. Am I going too far away, guys?
No.
Sometimes I get a little esoteric. Okay. Yeah. You got a question? Okay.
I did have a question.
Okay.
I'm thinking about lineage, and I'm thinking about what parts of your lineage and training do you carry forward, and what seeds do you plant for future generations in this place?
Okay. So I mentor a lot of students. I mentor, right, over the years. I have this discussion we just all the time having this discussion, right? So I got a lot of people. I spent like almost 30 years as a priest in an organization, right? The Kemetic Afrocentric organization. So I worked on my spiritual life. That was the main focus of what I was doing most of the time, because I didn't see anything that was compatible with Chinese medicine, except for, what was coming out of ancient Africa. I could make the correspondence between the two. So that was a way for me philosophically to save myself, to be centered in this medicine. That's the way I went. Other people went a different direction. So, and I say, as I started out, that I honored my Chinese ancestors, not, birth, but through what they brought to the world. Because without them, we would not be here. And so, just like, I mean, at one point in the New York, remember the attacks on Chinese women, and I mean, I will walk around, I hear somebody say something, I said, yo, I said, what are you doing? What do you mean? They like Kung Flu. I said, that's some bullshit that Trump was talking about. Don't eat that. Oh, you know, it's like, wake up. These people are holding on to a tradition that is a very ancient tradition that came from, like, it was around the same time ancient Egypt was alive. Just like in India, the Ayurvedic practice. So they gave this practice to, I mean, if you've eaten Indian food and all you have, that's Ayurvedic medicine. Okay, that's part of the cuisine. Okay, if you eat Chinese food, that's Chinese medicine. Okay, when you, I don't know now, but you don't go to Chinese restaurant to get butter and cheese and and ice cream. They don't sell it, right? They don't sell it in their cuisine. So they didn't have it, you know. Now in China, mainland China is altogether different. It's worse. It's worse now than it was then. You get a chance, go read the China study. Anybody have heard of that? The China study? Okay, by Colin Campbell. They got father who did a study in the 1970s, 80s. He went to every province in China and studied the diet. And he came away and said, the juxtaposed Western diet to see the disease and no cancer, very little cancer, little disease that we have in the West. He went back 20 years later. His son got a PhD there from Yale. His son got a PhD in clinical nutrition. So now they go back and do another study. And lo and behold, they find that the Chinese have the same disease that here in the West. So, when I say research, go back, look, it's there. You just have to spend a little time. Now, as a student, you don't have much bandwidth. Okay, so this is not for now. You could just note this down. When you get out of school, that's the time to really start researching and developing your practice and your knowledge. Because now you just, if you like me when I went to school, it's like drop dead tests. Every week, every class, you got to do the quiz, right? And so you live for the quiz, right? Ain't nothing else important in your life. You live for that quiz. So you want to pass that quiz, and then the midterms and the finals, then next semester, 15 days or 20 days later, you ready for the next, you're getting on that and you're running, right? So this is not the time to, like take this like, oh, let me go and chill out kind of thing. No, you gotta be alert. You gotta be on it. Okay. And this, just like med school, the people who fail, it's not because of you can't learn, it's because you get burnt out. You get burnt out. So that's why I say treating each other is very important, because you get burnt out. Because this is like, you got to use your mind. The formula, weekly time, the formula, right? You got it, right? That's the student formula, right? That's what I tell you, right? Okay. So it's between weekly time and Xiao. Those are your little pocket formulas. Put them in your pocket, ready for anything, right? Weekly time is spleen, heart, right? And the liver chi stagnation, right? Because you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to do all this test. That's liver chi stagnation, right? Before the test, right? Take that, Xiao, right? Work it so you can relax, right? You're going to study. You're going to study all night, all day, and take a weekly time, right? That's a little strategy. You got the medicine, you got the stuff, right? Give yourself some points or whatever. But this is the stuff. You got it. Okay. I think that's, I can go on, if you guys want, we can talk about, I want to hear your concerns though, actually, because talking about me is one thing, but I want to hear your concerns about, just like, what do you see in the future of this medicine that you want to involve yourself in? Anybody? Come on, talk. I mean, I'm trying to make this as like easy as possible, so, it's not like you don't stop.
I was wondering, like, I want to, after I graduate and start practicing, offer acupuncture to, communities of color that don't necessarily have the funds maybe to pay like $100 a session or whatever the price may be. And I was wondering if you found over the years, like, a useful model to be able to reach those communities.
They got community acupuncture. When I first started out, especially when I used to go to Africa, I would get the whole village, they would line up, and I would start beginning of the line, by the time I get to the end, it's like an hour, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, and I go back and pull the needles out. Then the next group will line up. And I was looking at, I would go, when I went to Africa, I would take tons of needles. And the community acupuncture there. And then I did a lot, like I said, I was in this organization, so I did a lot of free stuff, you know. And that organization, like, they're all over the world. So I would go to different places and treat people and wounds and stuff like that. Did a lot of ear acupuncture. I wrote a book on, you know, quick guide for ear acupuncture, right? So, you know, people wanted to, there's a way to help yourself. If I'm not around, there's a way to help yourself. Use these points. This is a very effective means to do this. What I do now, because insurance is like this. You guys are going to go through your careers, right? If you're gonna do this, right? Insurance is going to be important, but there will be points when insurance they will take you. You have to jump through hoops to get paid. There are periods when they didn't make you jump through hoops and they paid well. We are in one of those periods now when they're not paying, and you got to jump through hoops. You don't have 4 or 5 hours extra on your schedule to write up reports on all your patients to get paid. Maybe $80. Okay? And you're fighting over this. So, as it is, there are some people who have very good insurance. Find out what insurance companies pay good and try and get those people in your practice. And for the people that can't pay, I have people, I'm still seeing from 91, right? I'm charging $45 a treatment. I mean, that's like, right? But when I was out doing stuff, you know, in the community, they want it. They're in their 80s and 90s now. So they, oh, where you at, Dr. Dumisani? I'm like, I'm not a doctor. You know, Dumisani, right? Oh, yeah, okay. I want a treatment. Where you at? Where you at? I say, just come, give them my office. They show up. All right, I haven't seen them in 20 years. What's going on? Oh, no. Okay, I see what's going on. So I don't charge you much. I'll say I'll just charge you the same thing you charge you people. Okay. I get young people come in, they in between different things, right? No money, right? Well, a little bit, meaning they can just barely pay their rent, the food, transportation. Okay. Yes. Students not doing, you know, Chinese medicine and other colleges and universities and other situations. So the ones who can pay, they pay for the ones who can't pay. That's what I'm about. So, but that takes a little time. You have to talk to people. Once you get people and they trust you, you know, they will send other patients. So the word of mouth is big, right? So I'll get somebody to come and say, I got this card from this bus driver. And I said, well, what is their name? I don't know. But that bus driver got the card from somebody else who was sitting on the bus who got the card from somebody else. Right? This whole line, you know, chain of people that is exchanging this information. So you get people coming out of the blue. You don't know where they're coming from. Today they got ZocDoc. You know about that? Okay, so I have ZocDoc. A lot of times I don't want some of the patients with ZocDoc, so I close them down. But didn't tell you that, but I do. Okay. Some of the people want, you know, at my point, this point in my career, I can be choosy. Okay. I don't want a lot of stress. Okay. So I talk to my patients before they come, see, you know, I send out, they get a seven-page intake, holistic intake. So I want to see what they are doing. And sometimes I have to refer them to other practitioners who will gladly take them. Okay. So you know what you can do and what you can do well, you know, as you develop yourself. So, you know, at first you just, you know, anything. Come on, just come on, anything. I just want to see patients. But as you go along, you'll find out what you can do well. And you know, you can refer over to the other colleagues. Dana, you ready to close it down? 5:35, what?
We are a little bit over, so we do have to stop the presentation. I'm sure, Dumisani wouldn't mind just staying for an extra couple minutes if you guys have some questions that you wanna ask, further.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
yeah, so, but as for our, student council and EDI event, thank you, for coming out. Hope you did enjoy the presentation and our speaker on this event, and we'll see you at the next event.
We don't need this.
Sorry.
Okay, you guys,
I get a
you
photo.
got questions? You got
Okay,
questions?
so what? You're gonna.
Can we just get a photo? if you don't mind?
That's a good idea.
If you got, I can say about the board if you want to get my picture with the name. Wait,
Sure. I think I
uh,
was gonna want a bird.
this, please line up.
Of course, it's
Uh,
perfect.
Yeah, I am Chanel.
Box answer.
There.
What's your name?
Elizabeth.